Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. Today I have the lovely Andrea Corbett on, who is also known as the Healed Entrepreneur. She is an AI and business strategist, human design analyst, and heart healing practitioner. Now, Andrea, I am so excited to have you on today. Now, those of you that have been listening to my podcast, if you haven't already, make sure you go back to some of the previous episodes because I do touch a little bit on human design and how it's something that I have personally discovered about myself, and it's been an absolute game changer for my own business. And I really want you to understand more about it. So I can't wait to dive into this episode. Andrea, welcome to Becoming a Powerhouse Brand.
Thank you so much, Jacquie. It's great to be here. And that introduction always throws me like, oh, who's this person?
Tell us a bit about how you got into human design. Like, what is your sort of story?
Gosh, so I got into human design a few years ago. I think it was actually during lockdown, and I feel like lots of people got into lots of different things during that time.
Yeah.
So I get into things unknowingly, like, why am I doing this? And it didn't make sense. And I was asking everybody I could, do you know your time of birth? Do you know your birth? And people that knew it, I was doing their chart. And I couldn't understand why I actually understood what I was actually doing. I doubted myself. So I did a few charts, nothing professional, and I just, pushed it to one side because I thought it has no relevance to what I'm doing now. So that was, yeah, like I said, what we now 2024, so 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And late last year, I don't know, can't remember what actually happened, but I picked it back up again. And I think I must have heard someone, or someone was, yeah, I must have went on a masterclass myself. And I was like, I don't know all this information myself. And as I do, I go down rabbit holes. And as I know, it's now no longer a rabbit hole. It's the line one in me, because line one profile is a researcher, and I take that to heart. I am the true researcher. And as a manifesting generator, my traits are to do many things. And so, yeah, so late last year, got back into it, started to really love it. Got the platforms. I'm on Bodygraph platform. I can do it all professionally. And yeah, it's just, as they say, the rest is history. Just I just kept going and going and going and still loving it, to be fair, and,
Amazing.
and found more and more information out about it. And that it's not just about numbers and five energy types, it's a lot more.
Yeah, it's really in depth, isn't it? So just to summarize, for those of the people that are listening to this that have never even heard of what human design is, can you just tell us what is human design?
Right. For my definition, so human design for me is a combination of ancient wisdom knowledge combined with like everyday knowledge, and it combines astrology, Kabbalah, um gosh, put me on the spot now. Astrology, Kabbalah, your DNA, because it's all based on your birth time. It's that which is very important, birth time and date. And it means something different to everybody, because there's loads of people that are doing human design and different people have different takes on it. But my take on it is, I call it like the blueprint, that we can take what we want and leave what we don't. And despite if you have the same what we call energy types as someone else, like there may be another person that's a manifesting generator and has slightly different, energy to me. It's like I said, it's very intricate because of it's not just about the energy type, the profile, and it's a lot more. So going back to your original question, because I know I've kind of like diverted off of that. If for me, it's a blueprint. I call it human design, the blueprint, because it gives you an in-depth knowledge about yourself, and
Yeah.
it's very unique to you because of the time, and mainly because of the time of your birth and your birth date. So yeah, for me
Yeah.
it's a blueprint.
Yeah. And
Long
it's
and short.
really interesting you talking about the time because, and for anyone listening that has an estimate of when they were born, just to give you an example, I actually found out my human design beginning of the year and I was a projector and I was like, okay, well, I'll do this, that, and the other. And I don't know what it was, but there was something in me. I was like, something doesn't feel quite right. And I went back to my mum and asked, are you sure this is my time of birth? And it was out by 1 minute. And I'm actually a generator. And I was like reading up all about generators. I was like, this just makes so much sense. I've been spending months thinking I'm a projector and actually I'm a generator. So literally being out by 1 minute like makes a huge difference. So
So
how
you just
can
validated, sorry. I
that's right.
was going to say, you just validated what I just said then about know how
Exactly.
to do it. Yeah, thank you.
Exactly. How
Sorry.
can identifying what your human design type help you as an entrepreneur when you're running a business?
So knowing your human design type, and there's 5 types for anybody that's like, we keep saying the word type, but what does it actually mean? So you have a manifesting generator, that is moi. Then you have the generator, that is your type, and then you also have manifestors, projectors, and reflectors. Now, just a little bit of a background before I answer that question, so it makes more sense to people as well. So the generator types, such as ourselves, that's so manifesting generators and generators, we're clumped together, even though, and we make up, I say we because obviously that's you as well, we make up about 70% of the population. And so that's a huge amount of the population. And knowing your energy type really makes a difference in terms of, especially as entrepreneurs, how you work. And for me, as a manifesting generator, it's like what it says, that generator element in me can make me go. We're like the energizing bunnies.
Yes.
However, although it can be a good thing, but it also can be a not so good thing, whereby that's where burnout can become, is easier to happen to someone like a manifesting generator, because you can just keep going and going and
Yeah.
going and not feeling like you want to rest, because I can just do this, I can do it all.
Yeah.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah, right. And then you have the other energy types which do not have the generator, so to speak, who feel like if they're around generators, they need to catch up with us and do what we do. And as entrepreneurs, we tend to look at other people in our industry and see what they're doing, and why am I not doing that, and why am I not doing this? And as entrepreneurs, if we know our energy types, we know how to manage, like it says, our energy. And for example, so like in the generators, manifestor generators and generators, we've got our energy type, we've got our generator that keeps us going. And then you have like the projectors and the manifestors. They can manage and direct, and so don't have to have as much energy. And then you've got the reflectors. They are what I call the unicorns, because they make up 1% of the world, and their energy type is reflected on who they're around. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're a reflector, your surroundings make a big difference to you, and who you're working with, maybe even your partner, your working partners, your office workers. It's really being mindful about who you're surrounding yourself with. And as entrepreneurs, it's about learning your type so that you don't, most importantly, don't burn out,
Yeah.
and don't feel like you're not doing enough. So it's one of one of the two: either you're doing too much or you feel like you're not doing enough. So yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that answers.
Yeah, definitely. So how can it actually help you in terms of like even things like your offers? Does the finding out your human design type help you with understanding what is and isn't going to work for you in terms of what your offers are going to be or how to launch things and all of that? Like, can it actually impact the success you may have in particular types of launches?
Oh, no, definitely. So, for example, if we look at projectors, they their strategy is to wait to respond. Like so, but I had this conversation, I think Monday, and I was saying to the person who is a projector, it's not about just sitting around waiting. So in terms of offers, it's like showing the world what you've got. And I call projectors like peacocks, because you've got to show yourself. You got to, if you're doing an offer, you've got to really push. This is what I do. And it's not about being big-headed or you're egotistical. It's about showing the world what you do so that they can respond to you. So they can
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I want that. Oh, that's good. How can I get involved?" And so it's that way. For myself as a manifesting generator, when I'm doing my offers, I had to step back to go forward for the last few months, because I put too much out. like I can do, I'm doing
Yeah.
this, I'm doing that. And it wasn't working for me. And it was I was getting overwhelmed with it all. And so it was a case of, okay, I even had to split I now have two social media pages. So I have Andrea Corbett, which is around the healed entrepreneur. And I also have AI with Andrea, which is about my AI and business strategy work. And that's for me how I had to do it in terms of offers. Then you may have reflectors who, when they're doing offers, would need to reflect what their potential clients would possibly need and reflect their needs. And so I can so I'm trying to really cut back and like make it so short,
No,
but
go for it. It's great.
there's so much that there could be underlying things that you can work on in terms of entrepreneurial offers and like what I've just mentioned, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'd love to know actually, in terms of human design, because most of us that are in that scaling phase, or even when you're starting up, most of us will have some kind of mentor, coach, program, membership that we're part of. Now, in terms of actually finding something that is in alignment with you, is there something in human design that actually you will be more drawn to certain types of programs or how people offer their services? Are certain types of human design types going to be more drawn to working with someone one to one or in a group or a membership where they're kind of going to stand back and watch things happen?
No, they can be, but again, it's a blueprint. So it may what I may do may not be what another manifesting generator
Yeah.
does. So I always say it's not something that you really commit to. I have to do this because I'm a this type.
Yes.
Yeah, and I say that with anything we do, it's how do you feel? And a lot of the time with human design, it's human. You're human, so it's how you feel. It's all about your intuition. It's all about your gut feeling, and so it's all for manifesting like the waves. Do you have your waves? And so there's a lot more to, in I find it difficult answering that question because there's a lot more things that are involved in it to make those decisions. Now, for me, when I was choosing coaches, I found it very difficult because when I was getting told to just niche down, like that
Yeah.
word niche was just it was like a chalkboard. Like fingers on a chalkboard for me. It's like, and I believe that it was part of the reason I took a longer time to get where I am because I was trying so hard to niche down, like it wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
And, it is finding coaches or groups that align with you that have that understanding. So if someone comes to me now and I know that manifesting generator, I know that they're going to find it hard just to do one thing. So let's work on how do we do what you want to do, but in a strategic way. So
Yeah.
like what I said before, I had to practice what I teach and say, okay, I want to do multiple things, but how do I make it manageable, not so overwhelming, and easy for my potential clients to understand the different services that I offer, and not have to just be AI in business or just be the healed entrepreneur. I can be both.
Yeah.
So, in answering that question, it is about how you feel with the people that you're surrounded by and what do you want from it, and how do you who are you as an individual first and foremost. But again, answering another element to that question, when you look deeper into your human design chart and you look at some of your gates, which are if people that are the numbers before the so when you look at a human design chart, you will have um a number or two digits, one or two digits before the decimal point. So the decimal point, the number after the decimal point is a line, what we call a line, but the digits before are called gates. Now, when we start looking in deeper into your gates, in which I love to do that part of human design, because that's the uniqueness of a person, their gates. So when you start looking into the gates, it then tells you a bit more about who you could possibly align better with, and so on and so forth. And then when you attach the centers to that, it brings on another element. So I speak along, it's a bit long-winded, but as you can see and hear, or as you can hear, it's not just as easy as saying, oh yeah, this group or this type can work with this type of people. There's a
Yeah.
lot more to it. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what it is with human design. There's a lot of foundational information around, knowing I call it the big three, knowing what your human design type, your strategy, and and um and your authority are. But that's just scratching the
Yeah.
surface.
Amazing. So you can go really, really in depth with all of this.
As you can hear, like I can actually, sorry, sorry to the listeners, I can actually, you can. It is when I started to do this work, and I now do video readings because there have people out there. Oh yeah, you can get 100 pages of your report. Personally, I would not read 100 pages.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to happen. And so what I decided to do is record them so that people can pause, they can make notes, because it is a lot of information.
Yeah.
And when you're hearing information about yourself, that things that you may not have even realized or looked into, you need to hear it, to read it, to consume it in multiple ways. So yeah, it is a lot deeper than just what meets the eye.
Yeah. So obviously you can find out what your human design type is, but then going deeper into it. So how would that actually work? Do you work with your clients on a one-to-one basis, or how do you actually dive deeper in and then be able to create that video for your clients?
So what I've now done again, finding ways to combine all of my skills and knowledge and experience. When a client comes on board, I tend to do their human design chart first, so that what I can see who I'm working with and the best ways to guide them. Because, like I said, it's a blueprint, roadmap, it's a guide. So then it will help me guide them in the right direction in terms of, okay, like for example, I have a client who's a manifesting generator. I know what I need. I know I need like just rein it in. Okay, you can do that, but so I know they need that kind
Yeah.
of talking to you, yeah. And then you may have other clients like the manifestors who can just go away and just do the work. And then it's like, why do you actually need me? Because so but coaches need coaches, as they say. So um, I've gone on so much that I've actually forgotten what the actual question was. Apologies.
So it's actually like how do you dive deeper into it? So creating those videos.
Oh, so how do I? Yeah, so I then obviously get the information from my clients, and it's just a case of just dissecting it. Like I said, reading so we start off with what their profile is, what their type is, what their authority and strategy is, um, each of their gates. So go and in human design, you have your design side and then you have your personality side. So there's literally two sides to you, as they say. And so the design side is is what's created, like they say, that's when your soul comes into your body, approximately 88 or 90 days before you're actually born. And so that's why it's really important that you have your time of birth, because that also takes into account on some of your personality traits and what makes your blueprint. And so I look at both sides, and then I look at the centers. So we have 9 centers. Are the centers open? Are they closed? And whether they're open or if they're closed, that then has an impact on your blueprint as well. And so as you can hear, it's like think my one's nearly enough. Like if I do a full one, can go into like a nearly 2 hours because it's so intricate, and it depends on how many gates you have, because the gates are sometimes duplicated as well. And
It's
depending on
so
what side
fascinating.
there are, it's like, yeah, there is just so much.
I feel like this is a subject that should be taught at school because you think like we're born with, we have our blueprint when we're born. Why are we not taught this stuff at school?
This is the thing, and there's a lot of like personality assessments that go around. And one thing I say, they're great. I've done them myself. I'm not knocking them, but with human design, it is all about you and it doesn't change. Now, I do personality trait assessments and mindset assessments, but it will fluctuate depending on how you're feeling on that day that you're answering those questions.
Yeah,
However, with human design, I can have your chart all year round and it will never change
yeah,
because it is your blue, and that's why it means, and that's why I fell so much in love with it because it's not just hearsay or it's not made up. It is actually you. And yeah, I agree with you. It should more people should know about it. Um, Even though I do a lot around entrepreneurs, that's just the audience that I've targeted. However, it can work with parents. I could flip it over and say, okay, then we can have another call on doing human design for parents,
yeah,
which although it's the same, foundations, but it may mean something different when you're working with your child. And that's why I do advocate for when I do have clients and they do have children to get their child's chart done as well, because if my mum knew that I was a manifesting generator and I like to do everything, no, you can't do all of that. Why do you have to play with so many things all at once? You know, and so I know with my son, like knowing his human design, it's albeit I found out later and he's 27 now, but I found out later in life, but it made me reflect. It's like, oh, that's why certain things have happened, and that's why, so it
yeah,
really creates a deeper bond because you get to know your child on a even deeper level than what you would have done as on a regular basis of being a
yeah.
parent.
I guess it even comes down to even relationships because I suppose if you're around other people that just don't get what's in your head, like as a generator, I can keep going. So if I'm around people that like have lions until 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, how can you do that? Like I'm at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm get up, like just
Yeah,
ready to go.
100% in relationships, even myself, like with myself, like I'm not in one at the moment, but the partner that I had before, he was a manifester. And with manifestors, they can go away and do things and but what they need to do is to inform. Now, their strategy is to inform. And I used to say to him, okay, it's not about informing me and getting my permission to do anything. It's just informing me to say, okay, Andrew, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. That makes me so happy now because I know, not that I want to, it's just kind of a weird, I'm not like being like, I want to know everything that you're doing.
Yeah,
How do we plan? How do I organize? And I'm a planner and I like to know what I'm doing, in advance sometimes. And so it is about knowing how the other person operates. And okay, so I know that his trait is to go away and do things and kind of like be by himself and not to get offended. Because in the beginning, before I incorporated human design, I was like, okay, hello, there's two of us in this relationship. And from since knowing, okay, he's a manifestor, that's a trait of what could happen, and it's about working together with it.
yeah,
In human design, we have something called a penta, which can work for families and groups of people, like in businesses. And so, what the penta does, it puts together, believe it's three or more people to see how they best work together, and where who has like not the most strength, but who has different strengths and weaknesses, and how you can then um combine each other's weaknesses and strengths to work together as a whole.
yeah.
I think that's really great for families and is equally as great for working in departments. If you've got too many manifesting generators in one space, can you imagine? We're just all over the place. We
Rein
just
it in, rein it in.
yeah, it's like all there everywhere. And I have got something that I could so people might be thinking, okay, then so if that's the case, how do we all work together? And I have okay, so if we was to, and this just drops in nicely because I had this here. So if you were to have a group of people together, say for example, we're talking about employees at work. So if you're a generator, you focus on work that excites you. And if you're a manifester, you make sure you inform others before taking action. Projectors should wait for the invitation before offering their guidance. Now, I'm going to pause there and say for projectors, what that then means is you could be sitting on some information that you know you need to tell somebody else, or you see someone else doing something, you're like, oh, why doesn't Tom just do it this way? And then you go over and you tell Tom, I feel like you should do it this way. And Tom looks at you because Tom hasn't asked you for that information. So
Yeah.
now Tom's offended that you've now gone over and said to him to do that. However, if Tom comes up to you and says, Sue, how do I do X? Now you can give that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a lot around knowing when to, because then if you've gone over and told Tom now what to do and you see the next day Tom's not doing what you said, you're going to start getting frustrated.
Yeah.
I told him yesterday, but you told him yesterday, but he didn't ask you for that information yesterday. Yeah. So wait for the invitation before offering your guidance. And then as reflectors, you need to give yourself some time to make big decisions. So if you're working in the office and they've asked you to do something, don't just say yes,
Yeah.
think about it. And I
Yeah.
think that's with anybody anyway, but like there are
Yeah.
different types that have different ways of
This is
working.
a really powerful thing as well. So for those that are scaling, so if they've hit six figures, multi six figures, seven, whatever, and they are looking to scale their team, human design is going to be so powerful if it's not something that they're already using in an existing team, or if you're someone that is listening that is looking to grow your team, understanding the human design of the people you're interested in working with and bringing them all together is obviously going to be really good for them, isn't it?
100%. Like I said, it does. You need a bit of everybody in the team.
Yeah.
You know, need a bit of the projectors to help manage. You need a bit of the manifestors to go away and just, okay, then you give them the task to go and do. The manifesting generators that could, make the tea and do the admin and do the account. The generators that you can give a task and they're happy to just go away and just do that one task and get it done to completion. Um, yeah, so too much of one thing, as they say, is not always a good thing. So in a workplace, you can see sometimes there may be some friction, and knowing your human design potentially could reduce some of that. I wouldn't say take it away completely. It's not a magic pill, but reduce some of that.
Yeah.
And again, you flip it from business to family, it can work in that environment as well.
Yeah, amazing. So fascinated. I could literally talk about this all day long. If somebody is listening to this and would love to contact you to find out more about human design, to get a reading done, how can they find you?
So on all social medias, I'm Andrea Corbett. Can't remember my own name. Andrea Corbett, aka the Healed Entrepreneur. So yeah, so mainly on Instagram,
Perfect.
but then obviously on my website as well. So if you go to andreacorbett.com/, human design, you can actually get your free human design chart done online. So
Perfect.
and that will give you, some information. So at least you can have the conversation about, what type you are. You know
Yeah.
the big three from doing that. Yeah.
Excellent. I'll put that all in the show notes below. So make sure you go and check that out. Go and give Andrea a follow. Make sure that you leave a comment below if you've enjoyed this episode. And do drop us both a DM to let us know if there's any key takeaways you've had from this episode. We would love to hear any feedback. Thank you so much for coming on today, Andrea. And I will see you all in the next episode.